Hey, GM, everybody.
GM, what's up?
GM.
How's our quality?
You sound pretty good there.
Testing mine.
Yep, you sound great there, Lewis.
Thank you.
Lewis, is there anyone else? Can you point us to who else on the stage we should invite up from the Coinbase Cloud team? I guess I see James there. I will. Or Jaron. I'll get him up.
Yep, Jaron and Elias will be joining.
Cool. Just let us know his name when he hops in here, and we'll get him up. Hey, GM Jaron, and then we'll get Michael up here too, although Michael's got to put himself up here, so we'll hop up when he's ready.
Good morning, everyone.
GM Jaren, your audio sounds great too.
GM Michael.
My audio's not working. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. It was off for a sec, but that last piece was good.
I see you lighting up green. I'm gonna restart this. I'll be right back.
We can hear him, but he can't hear us. Well, Mike will be back in a second.
I see Elias down there. Elias Simos.
Elias. Yep, I got him. Inviting him up. Awesome. Well, he should have an invite. Elias, if you see it at the top of your screen, you should see a bar at the top that you can accept that will bring you up to the stage. So just click on that and we'll get you up here.
Well, it looks like my laptop speakers work, even though my headphones don't. So hopefully this audio doesn't sound too crappy.
No, you sound good, Michael. Thank you. Yeah, we could hear you earlier. You just couldn't hear us, so it must have just been an output problem for you. All right. Well, we're getting a good amount of people coming into the room, and we are 2 minutes past 10:30 MST here, so I think we're going to go ahead and get this kicked off. So we got Elias up here too, or Elias, so that is great. So welcome everyone to the Coinbase Cloud ShapeShift AMA, focused on the Coinbase Cloud governance proposal that they put up just a bit over a week ago. So we have Comanche, Jared, and Elias here from the Coinbase Cloud team who are going to talk a little bit more about this today. If anyone has any questions as we go, please feel free to either raise your hand and hop up on stage and ask it yourself, or you can put it in the ShapeShift DAO stage chat attached to this channel, and we will happily ask it for you. I'd love to start with just a group of intros, and then we'll introduce kind of the high level of the proposal and kind of go from there. So Comanche, Jaron, Elias, do you guys want to all introduce yourselves?
Absolutely. Great to meet everybody. I'm Lewis Hahn, speaking from the Comanche Fox handle. I live in New York City. I'm part of the Coinbase Cloud team's business development and sales team, and I focus primarily on staking infrastructure for the crypto native entities out there.
Hey everyone, I'm Jaron. I'm a product manager on the Coinbase Cloud side. I am also focused on staking, more focused on the Cosmos ecosystem. So I've helped support networks like Cosmos, Terra, Cronus, formerly known as Crypto.org, Provenance, Oasis, Osmosis, and Evmos, and the broader Cosmos ecosystem. So super excited to be here.
Cool. And I'm Elias. I am a protocol specialist at Coinbase Cloud. What my team is tasked with doing is to basically be the source of context on everything that's happening and has happened in the layer 1, layer 2 space. We do things like help the company make decisions on what network to support next. Create documentation about the networks that we are supporting and we're about to support. Get involved with communities, get involved in governance and all that good stuff. Excited to be here. Excited to explore how we can deepen our partnership with Foxchain, and excited about the future of Foxchain overall.
Awesome, thanks, guys. So yeah, let's dive right into the meat of this. So you all, I know, had been considering making this proposal to governance for a little bit, and in discussions with some members of the ShapeShiftDAO community, and then you made this governance proposal to a DAO, which I just want to kind of reiterate is super cool that the centralized org of Coinbase was willing to engage in DAO governance like this and wants to partner with a DAO on such a innovative project to decentralize node infrastructure. So I'd love you all to just talk a little bit about how you all came to make this proposal and maybe a high-level summary for the community here who's listening about what the proposal is, what it entails, what its purpose is, any motivations around it, etc. And then we can dive into some questions around it.
Sounds good. And Elias, I'll toss this to you here in a second, but I think understanding like the broader context of Coinbase and our vision and the cloud vision is helpful here. So ultimately at Coinbase, I'm sure the audience has probably seen statements from our CEO and across the company in how we are embracing decentralization and how we're embracing DeFi and so on. And really what's important to understand is the overall mission of Coinbase is to increase economic freedom in the world and to help build the crypto economy. And really on the cloud side, we want to empower the people out there, the organizations that are building crypto, right? So what we found is like, despite the momentum and all of the efforts going into building the Web3 ecosystem, which has really been proliferating over the last few years, development is still pretty challenging. And, developers and enterprises and DAOs really have a hard task ahead of them in terms of expertise and infrastructure needing to be built on and integrate with Web3. So really, like when you're looking at all the different protocols, there's different nuances and considerations for all these different protocols, and it makes it really hard to scale across multiple chains. So from our side on cloud, we really focus on managing and taking care of that infrastructure and dev tools perspective, and helping those out there that are building participate in Web3 and really focus on what they do best, which is building the products and services and experiences that are going to contribute to the future of Web3. So from a cloud perspective, we provide Web3 APIs, services, infrastructure, and we're really looking forward to powering, the next generation of Web3 builders. So from that perspective, we're super excited to continue adding fuel to the fire, enabling people like yourselves at ShapeShiftDAO to build what's necessary to help build out all the different primitives that are necessary for the crypto economy to thrive. And with that, Elias, I'll kind of toss it over to you specifically. What was interesting, what went into the decision to support ShapeShiftDAO and Foxchain build?
Thank you, sir. Perhaps in my turn, it's useful to give some context on how we make decisions about getting involved and supporting the networks that we do. The sort of overarching theme is along 3 axes, and these are the technology that's being proposed, the team that's building it, and then the business case, right? But I think our North Star is really the technology and the team, and the business case is kind of like a baseline that underlies the two prior sort of requirement categories or things that we're looking for. And as far as the technology piece goes, we're always looking, like our preferred partners and the projects that we really get excited backing are projects that are introducing something new to the space. It's not just a marginal improvement, but it's really a radical new proposition that is improving various facets of this ecosystem in ways that are orders of magnitude bigger than what already exists there, or maybe there's a gaping hole, a problem, and such and such. And as far as Foxchain goes, I think it ticks all the boxes. It is, from where I stand, a hallmark of a very big improvement into data availability, not in the consensus type way, although it very well could evolve into that. But the contextual fabric of everything that happens on blockchain is in data, and having access to high quality data that you can trust, and having an API that is effectively unshutdownable, that's backed by consensus and a distributed network that is incentivized to keep producing that service and provide it to the world in perpetuity is a massive value proposition. And so as far as that part goes, we were very early on clear. It was at least to me, and I think to the rest of the team, that it's clear that Foxchain is firmly in that quadrant. As far as the team goes, the Foxchain and ShapeShift DAO are very known quantities in the space. They're all amazing people. We got to work with them a little bit more closely over the span of the last couple months. We got to know them. They're incredible people, incredible technologists. They have a great vision for what they're trying to achieve there, and they're also very high integrity people, which is, I think, like a not necessarily rare. We're fortunate enough to work with a lot of great people across the ecosystem, but it's extremely highly valued, and I think all the members of the team that we've interacted so far demonstrate that more than amply.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. That's super interesting to hear how you guys go through that process and what you look for. And yeah, thank you for the nice things you said about the Foxchain and the ShapeShift DAO team and everyone that's been working on this. It's been really great to do that. I'd love if on top of that, you guys go into just a high level of what the proposal is that you've actually made to the DAO. So if someone hadn't read the proposal, what are the you don't have to go through every detail, but what are the important points that they should know about it, and that the community should consider when they're considering this for governance as it moves forward?
Absolutely. So essentially, understanding what ShapeShift DAO is looking to build with Foxchain, which is really a data availability network built on Tendermint in the Cosmos ecosystem, with the obvious objective of decentralizing blockchain data. We realize that we have a very deep level of expertise and a knowledge set when it comes to protocol launches, and Elias can kind of touch on that a little bit as well, in terms of like the things that we see, the things we have eyes on, how we can see best practices, how we can help advise around potential blockers and hiccups to look out for. So we wanted to help and partner with ShapeShift DAO to ensure essentially that when you're building out this chain on Cosmos ecosystem, when you're thinking through go-to-market, when you're thinking about how to build out the protocol and launch, we can be there in lockstep, side by side, and we can advise you. We have a deep pool of cross-functional teams where, we have protocol operations team, which Elias is part of. We have the product engineering and design team. We have a business development team, product marketing team, and we have reach that Coinbase gives us access to be able to help you go faster when you do roll out, to help you look out for the gotchas, and we can really help accelerate your efforts there. So essentially, the proposal is designed in two phases. When you're doing the design, build, and launch, we can help advise on blockchain network best practices when it comes to, node architecture and design, key management, monitoring and alerting, testnet, incentivized testnet, mainnet rollout, and really share like learnings and best practices from our expertise in launching 30 plus protocols. including many of the Cosmos ecosystem chains. And then essentially, when you get to the point where you're at mainnet, right, and all along the way, we will be there to do co-marketing efforts, whether it's social media posts or blog posts or co-announcements. We could use our reach to help accelerate, the proliferation of the news, right? That what you're working on and why it's impactful. And then when you are ready to launch mainnet, we'll do what we do best, right? Which is support mainnet by building, maintaining, and offering dedicated validator nodes, which is our participation product, as well as maintaining and offering full node services, which we call query and transact, to be generally available to all the builders out there that want to interact and participate in Fox Chain. So high access or high availability RPC endpoints, validator nodes, and so on, so that the people out there that are building products and building services around Fox Chain will have access to core infrastructure that they'll need to build that's secure and reliable. And we'll back that with all of the things that people have come to associate Coinbase Cloud with, which is, our SLA, uptime guarantees, maintenance, and making sure that the infrastructure is sound. So in a nutshell, that's what the proposal is. Be in lockstep with you as you develop and build out this protocol. From an advisory standpoint, using all of our learned experience across the Cosmos ecosystem. And then when you're ready for mainnet, we'll be there as an infrastructure partner to make sure that the community has access to secure and reliable infrastructure, both from a data perspective as well as a validator perspective. And Elias and Jaron, if you guys want to add anything there.
Yeah, but I'm gonna let Jaron take this one because he's been involved in a ton of Tendermint chain launches, onboardings, and he's seen the whole stack for a few years now. Our Tendermint team is the one that I have a soft spot for because they're just generally a breeze to work with, but they just have so much experience with the Cosmos SDK stack that it enables them to work really fast, troubleshoot really fast, and deliver great results. The one thing that my team gets a lot more involved with is not necessarily kind of the pure technical side, but it's also things like network economics, network governance. We are involved and we observe and we study in this layer across too many protocols potentially, and we're in a very unique position in the industry because we don't take necessarily sides, right? We want to push and help move forward the best of technology out there, and by merit of that, we've ended up working with tons of different teams, tons of different networks, and effectively steward them from pre-mainnet into well after the early stages of their mainnet and different iterations and so on. So traditionally we've gotten involved with helping teams think through how they'd structure their economics of the token, thinking through inflation, thinking through slashing parameters, thinking through downtime, jailing parameters. And then it's not a one-shot game, right? Like these networks are living and breathing pieces of technology, but also humans. So there's a fairly fat layer of human overlay that makes these networks take and grow in perpetuity. And because it's an interplay between humans and technology, these networks evolve, right? Because humans change, and then they have different ideas, better ideas, and therefore the technology and the network changes and so on. Then you realize maybe that your inflation is potentially too high and introduces adverse incentives into the sustainability of the broader network. So these are things that we've seen in different cases, and so I think we're very well positioned to have like a great library of best practices for different use case that we can, is available to us and we can draw from, and then we can help in collaboration with whichever team we're working with, in which case it's ShapeShift DAO, to pull those and then bring high quality information to the table with a lot of speed attached to it. But Jaron, I suppose over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Elias. I think the only thing I want to add is that we do work very closely with protocol teams, as we've mentioned, and being good network participants in securing the network and providing this infrastructure. And we mention Cosmos a lot, just because I'm personally love the Cosmos ecosystem and work on it. But we have worked with over 30 different blockchain networks, and so we really want to take all these different learnings that we've had and different experiences that we've had running nodes across all these different networks and providing that in an advisor role to help influence and shape Foxchain to the best that we can. So more tangible things that we can provide with our engineering team and protocol ops and product is more expertise on node architecture design. What are some good best practices with key management? How do you do monitoring, alerting, operating on testnet, running incentivized testnets, and gaining participants there, and then all the way to rolling out on mainnet, and obviously supporting the launch. And so we want to leverage all of the experience that we've had, really working with all the protocol teams that we've had, and using that to shape the future of Foxchain to the best that we can. And one other thing I would say is, on top of the participation product, which is validators, and the QT product, which is RPC infrastructure, we provide other services that are also more, I would say, more public goods focused. So we run seed nodes on certain Cosmos SDK networks, and we're always looking forward to building more protocol native functionality and features. And so there's a lot of interesting things that are launching on the Cosmos ecosystem, like the Auth-Z model that got launched with the recent upgrade, and interchain accounts coming alive, where you can control another blockchain account from a different blockchain network. And so we're looking at all these forward-facing features, and we really encourage the community, and especially the community at Foxchain, to discuss about these things and see how Coinbase Cloud can better help support these protocol native features and really provide more utility on Foxchain.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for that detail. That was super helpful. I'd love to throw it over to either Willie or M. Perklin, our elected leader of the Foxchain workstream, to just chat a little more about any other questions you might have for the Coinbase Cloud team, or highlight anything about this partnership that you think is particularly noteworthy or valuable to the community.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I had the opportunity to meet Jaron in Portugal, and then Lewis and the rest of the team at the ShapeShift pre-party at ETH Denver. And I had an opportunity to chat with them in person for the first time after getting this ball rolling with them in the past. And one of the things that I shared with them is just how excited I am about this partnership. I mean, ShapeShift is a DAO now. We are a decentralized organization, and the world's largest, most centralized, most regulated company in this industry has chosen to support the ShapeShift DAO in its mission to further decentralize. And that not only warms my heart, but I think it's a really big signal to the rest of the industry and potentially the rest of the world that the world is decentralizing, and either you get ahead of it like Coinbase Cloud is doing with this partnership, or you're going to be left behind. While chatting with the Coinbase Cloud team, I had a question that came up, but I never had the opportunity to ask, and I'd like to ask the team here on stage. I know that Coinbase Cloud provides infrastructure to the world. Like Infura, your customers come to you, they pay you dollars, and you give them access to blockchain data. Foxchain is a very ambitious project to provide this blockchain data to the world without a centralized entity. It could be said that the entire idea of Foxchain directly competes with Coinbase Cloud's, or at least with one of Coinbase Cloud's offerings. I'd like to ask, what was the impetus that made the Coinbase Cloud team decide that this was the right move for Coinbase Cloud? Or to put, I guess more bluntly, why are you supporting something that could put your for-profit business out of business?
Great question. So the mission is to help this industry really move forward, right? And like that is one of the things that comes under the guise of economic freedom and such. So if we are to run the world's transactions, the world's commerce on chains, then it's going to take a ton of people, a ton of organizations, a ton of DAOs to do that. It's impossible for one single entity to actually serve the world's needs in that regard. And so if you take that sort of vision at heart, then you very quickly realize that there's a ton of space for all of us, centralized entities, decentralized entities, to not only cooperate and not compete with each other, but by doing so to really thrive. And we are a lot more mainstream than what we were perhaps a few short years ago, even if you think back 2 years ago. But there's still a ton of work to be done, right? And one, we're going to be a lot more impactful if we work together. But two, it's also more fun to do so. So I think that pretty much should capture the reasoning why we, as I mentioned before, our core mission is to help power people and technologies bring great innovations to the world and expand our collective mission. And we absolutely see no oversteps, only synergies here.
I love it. I heard this saying before, and it rings true just in your words that you just shared, Elias. The old world was about one company out competing other companies. The new world is about DAOs out cooperating other DAOs. And you're absolutely right. This cooperation allows all of us to add up to a sum that is greater than all of our individual parts. I liken what Coinbase is doing with Foxchain here. I liken it to what happened in the late 80s and the 90s when telecoms, they made the vast majority of their income on long distance fees. And like it or not, the environment changed on them. And now there was this new way of doing things, the internet. And yes, they could have still tried to charge long distance fees to everybody making telephone calls around the world. But more and more people were using services like Skype and finding ways to communicate with others around the world without these telecoms. They had no choice but to change the way that they were doing business if they wanted to continue remaining relevant. And I see that as exactly what Coinbase Cloud is doing here. With these new decentralized strategies and these new ambitious projects like Foxchain, there will be a day when nobody is going to go to a centralized entity to get their blockchain data because there are so many decentralized options around. And the fact that Coinbase Cloud is skating to where the puck will be, I think is a testament to just how forward thinking you guys are. I'm happy to be working alongside you on this.
And we are too, 100%.
Couldn't agree more. Really, I can't think of a better partner than Coinbase Cloud to be working with us on this humble mission. And it's really great to see you guys pioneering alongside us on this. And it seems, I've noticed lately that it seems like Coinbase, I'm seeing a lot of signs that you guys are forward thinking, really embracing the decentralization movement, supporting public goods, supporting Web3 development. And I just love to see it. And I wanted to ask, is this the first time that Coinbase Cloud has made a proposal to a DAO? And if so, I would love to hear kind of what the process looked like for getting internal approval for this interesting approach. Because as many of you guys know, one of the challenges of DAOs is figuring out ways to come to a legal agreement with centralized corporations. And so I'm curious, was this the first time you guys have done a legal agreement with a DAO? And if so, can we share a little bit about what that looked like? Because I think it was a pretty interesting agreement that we came to, and it could be useful for other DAOs looking to come to agreements with centralized corporations.
Yeah, thanks for asking the question. I believe it is the first time that we've engaged directly in on-chain governance proposal without, having some kind of legal contract. I know we started this discussion months ago, and the internal discussion with all levels of the legal team, both at Coinbase Cloud and Coinbase at large. Everybody was involved in talking through this decision. And one of the things, like you highlighted, is there is a natural kind of disconnect between, like a standard master services agreement with a DAO, right? And we wanted to be incredibly, customer first. We wanted to think about how you all are trying to enable this and what you're trying to build, and didn't want to kind of constrain the DAO and our relationship to kind of the legacy way of doing business if it didn't make sense for you, right? So that was something that we took very seriously. We had many conversations internally on like how we could support this, and we went forward in the way that I think is really amazing in the fact that it's incredibly, crypto ethos aligned, incredibly, Web3 focused, and wanted to support the DAO in the way that you do business, right? Which is the formal governance proposal process. So from our side, it was a lot of discussions, many weeks, a few months in deliberation and pinning down, how we would actually do this, how we would run accounting for something like this, and so on. But ultimately, everybody was aligned from the ethos perspective to the highest levels of our legal team, and we were willing to kind of put this forward as a proposal. And in the fact that we're managing payments and all that directly on chain, we just see that this is something that we wanted to do for the DAO for business like this, and we think that this is the right way to do it.
Yeah, and to add to Lewis's points, it's not the first time we've engaged in governance. As this is something that especially my team does as Networks to Live. It's certainly the first time that we get involved in such an early stage. But also I think the sort of unspoken and unsung part of this this collaboration to come is that it takes two to tango, right? And it's to my knowledge, at least, also could very well be the first time that a DAO reaches out and is comfortable in engaging in that type of relationship with a centralized organization like Coinbase. Like I've been in the space for a few years now, and kind of as this DAO movement started taking root and growing bigger and bigger, speaking to a ton of people in the DAO community, DAO operators, DAO participants, and so on, like a common theme has always been the distrust of DAOs against working with centralized organizations, and also like the fact that oftentimes the stack is incompatible, right? So DAOs default to doing business, if you will, with DAOs. And that for many, like a wide array of use cases, could very well be the future. And in fact, like I think it will be, right? Because there's a lot of overhead that needs to be worked out otherwise. So props where props are due, which is to you guys for taking that leap of faith and pushing that that partnership potential between ourselves and Foxchain and the ShapeShift DAO.
Thanks, Elias and Lewis. Agreed. I think it was some great teamwork, and I'm really glad that we were able to come to an agreement and find a way to make this work. So this was some awesome brainstorming and creativity from both sides. And yeah, I hope that this becomes a nice template for other DAOs and corporations to work together, because there really hasn't been a lot of precedent. There's no playbook for how to do this right. And I think the creative solution that the Coinbase legal team came up with to have an individual sign a testimonial, basically attesting to the fact that DAO governance did happen, was a really awesome solution. So props to you guys for proposing that. And yeah, I hope that maybe we'll see this pave the way for future agreements between DAOs and corporations. So I'd love to hear about the next steps here. I think the draft proposal has been in the incubation stage for a bit now and has seen some really strong support. Next step is to take this up to ideation, and if that goes well, get it up for formal governance proposal. And assuming that goes well, I'd love to hear kind of Michael Perklin, what are your plans to get the ball rolling with Foxchain development?
Yeah, so a few weeks ago when the Foxchain proposal was passed through governance, it outlined a two-phase approach for tackling Foxchain. The first phase was research and planning. The second phase was execution. So as far as next steps go, it'll be heavy on the research phase. There are still a couple of open questions that need to be answered, and the only way to answer them is by crunching a bunch of numbers and analyzing how those numbers play out. Basically, the tokenomics. I look forward to working closely with the tokenomics work stream here within the ShapeShift DAO, and with any participants, including any of the 103 audience members that are here who are interested in helping us with spreadsheet work, finding prices for hosting this blockchain or that blockchain, figuring out how much data is needed for this, for that, average bandwidth when you're requesting things. Basically, all the types of metrics that will feed the initial first draft of what Foxchain will look like. Once we have all these numbers, we'll be able to make an informed decision on which specific tokenomics path we are going to be following. It's my goal, it's my desire to not inflate the supply of Fox. We have 1 billion plus leaked tokens out there, and I don't think we should increase that amount any more than it already is. We've got one idea, I call it the hopper idea, where the ShapeShift DAO collectively, through all of its sources of income, fills up the hopper with funds, and that hopper gets distributed to everybody who is delegating their Fox and everybody who is running these validators. Will that be sustainable over the long term? Or will we need to use a more direct payment method instead of an indirect payment method like delegation? These types of questions will inform how exactly Foxchain will be built. And once these questions are answered, phase 2 will be getting software engineers to build the plan that was created in phase 1. So I'm super excited to get started on that research. And what I will say is, if anybody in this audience is interested in contributing to this research, or if you are a software engineer and you want to be involved in phase 2 when we start coding the output of the research, please reach out to me or type in the FoxChain channel right here on the ShapeShift Discord.
Awesome. Yeah, some great info there. Thanks for going through all of that, Coinbase Cloud team and Michael. We have a couple questions going on in our stage chat in the audience, so I'd like to ask those and see what we can do to help answer these. So Never Was asked in the chat, as a curiosity, I would ask if anyone on stage or even in the audience can see any potential conflicts or concerns of a centralized exchange jumping into a very young product at this stage. And he adds any regulatory exposure or mitigation concerns, partnerships/ownership potential issues. I'll kind of answer this slightly and then turn it over to the rest of the group here. I'm not particularly concerned about this in this structure. I think there could be structures or could be young DAO-based projects where that could be more of a concern. But what my understanding of what Coinbase Cloud is offering here in their proposal is really to act in a support arm. They're not taking any, direct ownership of the Fox chain, and even once it launches and they're running, one or multiple nodes, they will just be doing that permissionlessly, just like anyone else on the network. So they're not getting any sort of, privileged position in that way. And they don't have any, if they were to drop off and stop supporting the network once it's up, that wouldn't necessarily hurt the network in any way if we've built it properly. So I'm not particularly concerned about that. I don't think it hurts it. I think it only helps. But yeah, I'd love if anyone else on the stage has any thoughts on that question.
Well said, John. I think you covered it well. And I'll just add that we can share the specifics. I think the specifics of the proposal are actually in that forum post. If anyone is welcome to go kind of see the specifics of what the agreement entails. But the commitment is very much at will. We structured it that way strategically. And part of that is because we don't have any sort of MSA contract that really can be enforced against the DAO. And the DAO has no plans really, I think, or intentions to enforce anything against Coinbase Cloud. So the agreement is very much structured at will, where as long as ShapeShift is satisfied with the support we're getting from Coinbase Cloud, we will continue streaming Fox to them. And as long as Coinbase Cloud is satisfied and interested in continuing to support the development of Fox Chain, they'll continue doing so and will continue earning Fox. If at any point either party wants to end the agreement, they certainly can. And there will be, like John said, no ownership or anything after that. It's just an at-will agreement to support Fox Chain and earn Fox in the meantime. And then after the deployment of Fox Chain, the ShapeShift DAO will be delegating Fox to Coinbase validators. But again, that is also can be at will, and the ShapeShift Fox governance can at any point in time, make a proposal to modify the agreement if we feel like Coinbase Cloud isn't delivering their end of the deal. But I think the great thing about this deal is that it's a win-win. If both parties support each other, then it's going to work out great for everybody in the end, which is the best types of business agreements in my opinion. Win-win-win.
Yeah, and from the cloud side, I think both of you hit the nail on the head. Really, we're here in a supporting function. We want to help enable and accelerate the success of Fox Chain as much as possible. But like Willie said, this is based on the governance proposal. And if for any reason it doesn't make sense, then that's up to the DAO to decide. And we hold no ownership of Fox Chain, except that we're enthusiastic supporters and enthusiastic Fox token holders, and that's really the way that the agreement has been drafted.
Lewis, what you just said prompted a question. Will Coinbase Cloud be participating in ShapeShift governance with your Fox tokens in the future? Or will Coinbase Cloud only be involved with this Fox Chain project and just hodl the rest of your Fox tokens without participating?
I may have Elias chime in on the governance piece, but ultimately we intend, if you look at phase 2, of our proposal. Ultimately, we intend when mainnet launches to run a public community validator from our side for Foxchain, right? And the assumption is that we would be also staking our tokens. We would be enabling others to delegate and stake their tokens. But I'll let Elias kind of tackle the meat of your question.
Yeah, as far as our governance involvement goes in perpetuity, I'm gonna sort of preface with what I mentioned earlier, which is when we decide to add support for a network, it's not a decision that we do lightly, right? When we actually decide that we're going to support an emerging network, it means that we're going to support this network hopefully forever. The cases where we have offboarded a network, they're not available if there have been any. So it's the relationships that we engage are long-standing. We seek to align ourselves and our interests with the interests of the network, and our success is helping the network grow and thrive, and that is a bunch of work, of course, on the technical side. But like I said earlier, the network is also humans, right? It's part human and part machine, and so we get involved in governance very frequently. Like my team, for example, has Victor. He was responsible for kickstarting the Near network through a governance proposal, and kind of herding cats among all the validator groups that were working on Near testnets. And it was a bit of a standstill situation that no one would take the initiative to kickstart the network. We've gotten involved in governance proposals, tuning network parameters. We're observing and living and breathing together with the network week in, week out, right? And so we're very close to the metal. We're very close to the fabric of every different community that represents the networks that we support, and through that, again, like I said before, we're able to kind of absorb a lot of context and synthesize, and then come to governance reactively as well when that's necessary, but oftentimes come to governance proactively and propose potentially new features, propose new mechanisms that we think could really add value to the network, or equivalently protect the network from potential pitfalls that are hiding in plain sight oftentimes down the line. So like with every other network then we support, these are some of the ways that we would seek to engage with in Foxchain governance.
Awesome. We have a few other questions here from the audience I want to make sure we get to. Some great discussion going on here in the stage chat. So we have a two-part question here from BlindSin777. His first question relates to just product marketing and basically asking the Coinbase Cloud team what the community could expect of that. What would you all actually be doing on the product marketing side, and what should the community think about that? And then two is a more specific question about, would we expect the Coinbase wallet to be developed where Fox can be staked and be included in the DAO voting for Fox?
Sure. From the marketing perspective, that really comes down to what your kind of needs for broadcasting messaging to the wider community and whatnot, and us being alongside with you as partners to help, right? If you look at some of the other protocols we support, we'll publish blogs, we'll publish guides for the protocols to explain the in and outs to developers. We'll publish specific developer guides as well to help people that are building on these different chains and advising them on how to get involved and how to build specific dApps and whatnot. So from that perspective, we'll be able to partner together, and whether it's being published by you all or it's being published by us, when it comes to infrastructure related things, like we can partner together and do that. Something else that we've done is extending our Twitter Spaces and the reach that Coinbase has. So as Foxchain is developed and you have new key exciting features and things rolling out that you need a wider audience to broadcast to and make aware, we're right alongside you there to co-plan these things and give you that stage and our broader audience to broadcast to. And from that perspective, we're happy to work together and kind of think of ideas, whatever you all think might be beneficial or helpful to Foxchain. We'd be there to support. On the wallet side, while we don't specifically support that wallet product, obviously, like with some of the previous comments about working with a centralized entity and so on and so forth, it's not all downside, right? Because Coinbase has a range of business segments that we operate in, and we cover a broad range of primitives. On the Coinbase cloud side, even specifically, whether it comes to data, staking, storage, payments and commerce, identity, exchange APIs, open source developer tools. We kind of cover a very broad range of offerings, right? So if integrating with our wallet, integrating with the wallet team is something that's important to ShapeShift DAO as we build it out and we help the rollout. That's an easy conversation that we can get started and connect you to the wallet team and help facilitate those types of discussions. So from a broad sense, we're happy to be here and support as we can.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, we've got a few other questions here in the audience. This one is specifically about a detail of the proposal, and I definitely think is worth talking about. So Marley, after noting how much he loves this collaboration, does say, and he posted this in the forum, so this might be something for you guys to respond more at length there. But he said, he basically notes this part about phase 2 and the 40 million Fox tokens to be delegated within 3 months of launch for a minimum consecutive period of 12 months. Marley says, my only concern so far is the delegation of 40 million Fox. This is about 4% of the total supply of Fox. I have seen on early chain launches, concentrating a voting power can be dangerously high. If any one validator gets more than 33% of the voting power in a Tendermint ecosystem, the chain can stop, but the validator goes down. Some examples of this have been Loom, early Umi launch, and Huahua. It's too early to know what the economics of Foxchain will be. I think there will be a token bridge from ETH-Fox to Foxchain Fox. Migration will most likely be slow of tokens from ETH to Foxchain. I could see a 40 million delegation being okay, but would like to see a way for other validators to apply for similar sized delegation grants from Strategic Reserve. How did you land on a 40 million delegation? And then just to add on that, Evan also asked, is the 40 million negotiable? Would Coinbase Cloud be willing to partner up for 20 million Fox or something else like that? Maybe you all can just talk about that aspect of the proposal.
Sure. So I guess my question would be, what is the token supply that we're measuring that against? As kind of Michael alluded to before, the total supply of Fox is 1 billion, and 40 million would represent significantly less, I believe.
Yeah, I believe 40 million is 4% of 1 billion.
4%. Correct. So the way we calculated that out, right? And there's assumptions being made about the delegation and validator commission fees and whatnot that we took standard across kind of Tendermint chains, and we calculated, what revenue would be within that year, right, of the delegation, and that's how we sized the appropriate delegation. Quite honestly, I think, Elias, maybe you have some metrics in terms of delegations from protocol foundations to our validators. We see that as something that is pretty favorable to ShapeShift DAO, and don't see that as being a massive kind of concern when you're talking about network penetration. Really, that comes down to kind of the validators, and I'll let Elias kind of handle that a little.
Sure. There's several times in the past that we have done similar agreements with foundations and networks as they come to market. And delegation is actually a quite nice vehicle to solidify a partnership, because it also ensures like long-term alignment, right? It's not just a dry handout, but rather you're incentivized and empowered to be an actor in the ecosystem, and you're you want to think about things in very dry business logic. Your realized value will only be realized at some point in the future. And not only that, but the value of the token itself is, at least to some extent, predicated on how well you perform your job as like a meaningful entity and quantity in the network, right? Like obviously there's a ton of things that we all can't control, like, you know, the Fed hiking rates or war breaking out in Ukraine. Like we have no control over that, right? And we'll potentially never be able to have control over that. But we do have control over, and the variables that we do try our best, and I think we are pretty good. Our track record would show that we're actually pretty good at delivering those things, is helping the network in any way we can, helping run the safest, most secure, private, if so required, highly available pieces of infrastructure that can be part of that network. And, you know, Jaron can potentially speak to, and it's only by that way that we ensure that we're doing everything that we can in order for that realized value in the future to make it worth our while. Because if we have all of that responsibility and stake effectively, right, in the network, and we do a really bad job and bring the network down with us, then it's not going to be worth our while, right? And we effectively shoot ourselves in the foot. So we haven't yet shot ourselves in the foot in a previous instance, and I'm pretty confident that we won't in the future. So I actually do think that there's a lot of benefits into kind of pursuing a partnership using sort of delegation as a vehicle. But I don't know if Jaron wants to chime in with a few insights on past events, you know, regarding downtime and how we handle you know, unforeseen network circumstances, our response mechanisms, and all of that, which I think is a really interesting sort of part of the work that we do, and something that I think our Tendermint team really excels at.
Yeah, I can chime in a little bit. I would just say the 33% number is deep in our minds, and like Elias said, we are aligned long term for all of these networks that we support. And so, you know, fortunately, we've never had that huge success problem where we had to face that, but we never want to put ourselves in the position, and this is honestly an engineer's nightmare, is ever getting to that level of success where you run that much of a network. And so we have a lot of mechanisms in place in terms of handling downtime. Obviously, we run testnet nodes on all stable networks. We test upgrades there. We work with protocol teams. When there's security patches, we upgrade those as soon as possible. And then we coordinate, you know, with the major upgrades as well. And typically on mainnet, after validating things on testnet, we use our own public validator as kind of as the first thing that we upgrade on mainnet, really testing things before upgrading all of our deployments, you know, on our platform. And so I could go in more detail here. I know we're running out of time, but we're happy to chat more about the resiliency and uptime of the platform and kind of how that works.
I appreciate you guys addressing those concerns, and also thank you, Marley, for bringing it up. I think it's a really good point, and I do see we have language in the proposal right now that the 40 million Fox tokens will be delegated within 3 months of mainnet launch, so it wouldn't all be delegated immediately. Maybe, Marley, you could propose some language that around, we wouldn't delegate if delegating a certain amount would require Coinbase's voting power to exceed 20% of the total network, something like that, just so that we're not committed to proposing an amount that would cause the network to potentially go down if the validator went down. I think that would be a nice way to still keep that 40 million commitment, which I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with. But to your point, with that, until we know more about what the economics will look like and how much Fox will be bridged and delegated to other validators, could be nice to have that safety precaution worded in the proposal itself.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Willie, and it's a good question, and appreciate the Coinbase Cloud team's response on that. I do think some sort of language, maybe just protect against that eventuality, might make sense. Well, 40 million is 40% of, or sorry, 4% of the total supply of Fox. Supply of Fox will likely never be in total circulation. So probably what's more important is what's actually in circulation and what is specifically going to actually end up on Fox chain power, empowering the Fox chain in the Tendermint universe. If that's only 100 million Fox that's on there, at least in the first 3 months, then 40 million would probably be too much. If it's 500 million, then it's probably fine. So I think if you all are willing, Coinbase Cloud team, some sort of modification that could just help defend against that, getting too high of a percentage too fast, that would be helpful to the community. And also to Marley's point, the DAO probably will want to delegate to, more than one validator to kind of spread that out a little bit and just, make the network that much more resilient. But overall, I also don't have a high level concern with the ask itself. I think we just kind of might need to work together a little bit to nail those exact numbers in.
Yeah, I'm not concerned at all. All of us are aligned and we want this to be successful. And the last thing that any of us would want to do is shoot the project in the foot. Thanks for highlighting the concern, Marley.
Great. Well, this has been a great conversation. We are a minute past the hour. I would definitely encourage anyone who's been listening who has further comments or questions to please engage in the forum. This is still in the incubation phase. I think the Coinbase Cloud team will likely be probably moving this to ideation soon, but then there will still be plenty of time to also engage in the discussion during ideation. So please bring up your questions there. Let's get them all answered before this ever gets to snapshot, and I'm sure that we can help reel this in to where we need it to be. Coinbase Cloud team, or Michael or Willie, any final thoughts or parting words for the community here?
I will just say I'm really looking forward to this. Thank you, Coinbase Cloud, for putting this proposal up and for just being a pleasure to work with as we work out the details of this. There was one last question that I don't think we got to that I'll just answer very quickly around will Fox governance remain on Ethereum once Fox is bridged over to Fox Chain? And I will say we are still figuring out exactly how that will work. The intention is definitely to give Fox holders voting power, one vote for one Fox wherever it's held, whether it's on Ethereum or on Fox Chain or in a liquidity pool on some other Cosmos zone like Osmosis. But the tech for that does not yet exist. So that'll be one of the things we're looking into as Fox Chain is developed. And I think the goal will be that by the time Fox Chain is launched, there will be a solution that's very much like Snapshot, but while Snapshot only supports Ethereum right now, either Cosmos support will be added to Snapshot, or we may have to either develop our own solution or work with other members of the community to develop a solution. But we got some time to figure that out, and I'm pretty optimistic that by the time Fox Chain is launched, we'll be able to give Fox token holders voting power for Fox held on either chain.
Yeah, and from my side, just want to say thank you to the ShapeShift DAO team. You guys have been incredible to work with, and it was really great meeting you all at ETH Denver. Just to, I guess, address like one more thing that I saw in the DAO stage chat. Like the 40, I guess it's important to keep in mind that the 40 million delegated Fox tokens it's a delegation, right? So ultimately those tokens, like we're not receiving 40 million Fox tokens, and we don't have ownership of those. They obviously are your Fox tokens, and you are simply delegating them to the validator over the course of a year. And most of the rewards that would be earned on those tokens would flow back to ShapeShift DAO. And we would simply just take a small, negotiated fee on however we set the commission on the validator. So really, it's not 40 million Fox tokens coming to Coinbase Cloud. Just to kind of clear that up. But thank you all. Really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
And actually, just really quickly, Lewis, on that point, this was something I was going to bring up but forgot. Maybe something that would be useful to add to the proposal and ideation, if you are willing, is just some sort of commitment to keep the whatever commission you guys plan to set on that validator within a reasonable range. I think as long as you guys are setting a competitive commission, the 40 million Fox is not really that big of a deal. If you guys were to set some, way above market commission, then there might be more of an issue there. So I think if you guys just committed that whatever commission you're going to set will be in the competitive range, that really helps that.
Absolutely. And I think if anybody spends a lot of time on like the public staking dashboards, you'll see that our public community validators are in line with the averages of the institutional kind of providers out there. We don't set, obviously, if you want people to delegate to your validator node, it's you're disincentivized to charge some really high premium, and that we don't do that. So happy to work with you on any clarifying language.
Great, thank you. Jaren or Michael, anything from you before we see ourselves off the stage?
Just thank you very much, Coinbase Cloud, and thanks for everyone who came to listen to us talk. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone, and I'm super glad I met Michael in Lisbon, and that kicked off this this partnership, and I hope things go well here, and that we can move forward with this, and super excited to be working with ShapeShift DAO.
Awesome, everyone. Well, I look forward to seeing this governance process continue and seeing all of us work together to help make Fox in a reality. So yeah, thanks again, everyone who joined on stage and giving your time, and everyone in the audience who, over 100 people who came and listened during the course of this. So everyone have a great day, and we'll see you in some of the other calls later today. Thanks.
GM.